The Buddha said that there are 5 causes for gaining special Dhamma in this very life. And the first of these is faith and confidence. This is faith and confidence in things that are worthy of our faith, saddheya vatu. These have qualities that are trustworthy. The Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, karma and its results, and lifetimes. And among these things that are trustworthy is the quality of the Satipatthana practice that we are doing now. It brings about 7 benefits, the first of which is purity of mind, which is no small thing. When one knows that it brings about this benefit, one who wants purity and cleanliness, it said, follow the path of Satipatthana. This is the one sure way to gain these benefits, starting with purity of mind. Try it, practice, and see for yourself. You will find for yourself. This is the ability of the Dhamma. And it's true, because when we know the method, when we apply it practically, the results we gain are consistent with the practice that we do. And when one puts the Dhamma into practice, one will come to know in an experiential way the quality of the Dhamma of being well preached, svakata. In this very life, one will gain the benefits of Dhamma practice. The Dhamma has the quality of bravely declaring to come and see for yourself. So Sayadaw spoke about this for the past couple of days. Hearing about the qualities of the Dhamma, one's faith awakens. And when we cultivate it through the practice, not only do we need to have faith when we practice, but we also need to have enough health in order to practice. So the second quality of gaining special Dhamma in this very life, the second quality that we need, is to be free of disease, to be healthy. And Sayadaw will speak about this today. So the second factor, called Padhaniyanga, the second factor for gaining special Dhamma in this very life, is to be free of disease. Disease in one's body causes extreme pain, and it makes it hard for one to practice. So we need to be free of this type of severe disease. So apabado hoti apatinko. So we have to be free of disease and free of the extreme pain that comes from disease. So then we will be free of physical suffering. So this means that we need to be free of really, really severe diseases. So in the present period, there are few people who are really completely healthy. Everyone has some sort of ailment or other. But these aren't enough to keep us from practice. One needs to have enough health to take care of one's basic needs, and mainly to be able to eat regularly and to sleep regularly. And if one can do these 2 things, then this is enough health to undertake the practice. So what does it mean to be like that, free of disease? It said, Samavepakiniya Gahaniya Samanagato. That means this Pali is speaking about the digestive element of fire that is in the stomach, called in Pali Pachakat Tejo. This is when we put food into our stomach, there's the fire that digests it, and it makes the food, it cooks it and it makes it soft, and it helps the nutrition, the nutritive essence that is part of the food, oja, to spread throughout the body. And thus, in order to be considered free of disease, one has to have this digestive fire so that the nutriment that's gained from the food can spread throughout the body and one can have health due to the food. So what does it mean to have good stomach, good fire in the stomach, good digestive ability? It means that the digestive fire should not be too cool and it should not be too hot. It should be just right. And it should be at this moderate level so that it is able to digest, so that we are able to digest whatever food or drinks we ingest. When we eat food, if the digestive fire in the stomach is not hot enough, then we can't digest the food. And when the food goes down out of the stomach, it's not fully digested. So this causes air to develop, and this excessive air causes various diseases. So on the other hand, if there's enough digestive fire, this excessive air and disease won't occur. And on the other hand, if the heat in the stomach is too high, if it's too hot, we have to eat often. And when we don't eat often enough to feed the digestive fire that's too high, then the fire starts to burn the walls of the stomach, and this causes stomach disease. So, if the fire in our stomach is too hot too, it causes problems. Thus, the digestive fire should be not too cool and not too hot. It should be just right. This is good digestive fire. When our digestive fire is not balanced, is not moderate, if it's too low, then one tends to be afraid to eat cold food. So one is afraid of it. And if one's digestive fire is too hot, one becomes afraid of eating hot food. So if, on the other hand, the digestive fire is just right, balanced, then one is not afraid of cold food, of eating cold food. One is not afraid of eating hot food. Whatever is there, one can eat. And when one chews the food carefully, then the nutritive essence called oja comes out of the food, and it spreads throughout the body. This oja, nutritive essence, makes the parts of our body clear. It makes our physicality clear and clean and healthy. So it is very important. So if our digestive fire is not balanced, then then we need to see a doctor in order to correct our problems. But when we don't follow the instructions the doctor gives, our stomach disease can become chronic. And the stomach disease is no longer easy to cure because of, the reason for this is because of not taking the medicine in the way that it was prescribed. When we have stomach problems, the doctors tell us what to avoid eating and what's good for us to eat, and those are the instructions that we need to follow as well as taking the medicine. And when we don't do that, then this disease becomes chronic. So just as with physical diseases, when we don't follow the instructions of the doctor, we end up with a chronic condition that is no longer curable. It's the same way with the practice. So if the teachers say the yogis need to practice with respect, meticulously, without taking breaks, with that instruction, if yogis then do not do accordingly, according to the instructions, such yogis won't come to know purity of mind or the knowledge that can develop further besides based on purity of mind. So without following the instructions that are given, one's condition becomes very difficult to correct. So with food, with regard to our digestive ability, we have to eat and drink normally in order for our stomach to be normal. And then, when our stomach has a normal capability, then we will be apabato, apatinko. We will be free of disease and free of intense suffering due to disease. So when one is healthy, when one has this health as Sayadaw described, the second factor of one who is able to gain liberation in this very life, the second Padhaniyanga, is fulfilled. And Sayadaw wants the yogis to be like this. The third factor, called Padhaniyanga, is asato hoti amayavi. Asato means that one should not pretend to have qualities that one does not have, whether it's in order to impress others or for any reason. One should not pretend to have what one does not have. And the amayavi means that one should not hide the faults that one does have. If one has faults, one must be brave enough to admit them. We have to avoid doing that which is harmful to ourselves and to others. And if we did something wrong and then hide it, this is not the right way. So there should be no pretense about what we don't have, and the courage to admit the faults that we do have. And this is what this is called is being upright. One who is upright doesn't pretend about what they don't have in order to impress others. And when they have a fault, they have the courage to admit to others. But it's not just, one doesn't just have to go around telling everybody. It's said that to one's teachers and one's fellow yogis, sabrahmachari, satari. So one's teachers are those who are pointing out the way of practice with metta and karuna. And in the time of the Buddha, the teacher was the Buddha himself. And the other the other group to whom one should confess is Sabramachari. That means our fellow Dhammafarers. And there are 5 types of Sabramachari. That is, bhikkhus or monks, bhikkhunis or female monks, and sekamana, which is a step lower than being a bhikkhuni, and then samanera, which are novices, male novices, and samaneri, which are female novices. So those with whom, these are our Dhamma companions, those with whom one is practicing this way of practice. And it's also said that one doesn't need to just confess to all yogis. It's to those who are wise, Vinyu. So Vinyu Sabramachari are those with whom one needs to be open about one's fault, with those fellow Dhammafarers which are wise. So when one has committed something wrong, one should go to these persons, one of these 5 types of persons, fellow Dhammafarers, and confess openly. So doing like this, one won't pretend about qualities one doesn't have, and one won't hide the faults that one does have. This is being upright and clean. So ordinarily in the world, people should be like this. So this is even more important among meditators. And it's very important for one to be quite honest about one's experience when one reports to the teacher. One shouldn't say things like, I'm able to be mindful in all postures, and so on. One should be very frank and explicit, clear about just what one does and what one doesn't do when one speaks with the teacher. It's quite important. It said, Yatha Bhutang Atanang Avikata. So, the yogi needs to say, where is one missing? Where is one's work lacking? One needs to be able to tell the teacher exactly where things are going wrong, where one's work is lacking or missing, how the kilesas come in, and how one notes but is not able to do it 100% of the time. One needs to be able to say, is one able to observe every arising object when it arises or not? So one should be very frank with the teacher, because the teacher, hearing the report, is then able to help the yogi to fill up the places where the yogi's work is lacking. So the teacher can help to straighten out the places where the yogis go wrong. So it's very, very important for the yogis to report exactly how they practice and how things are going wrong in their practice, so that the teacher can help to fill up the gaps, to help straighten out the places where the yogi is going the wrong way, to help correct, to fix. So this quality of being frank is extremely important for a yogi. On the outside, one doesn't need to be this way 100% of the time. One can just do what is suitable. But here, the yogi has to be honest 100% of the time. There are 3 kinds of knowledge. The first of these is Suttamaya Jnana. This is the knowledge that we gain from good teachers, like the ones we have from the time we're young until we're grown up, when we get a worldly education or learn a skill. This is Suttamaya Jnana, knowledge gained from learning. And when one reflects on this learned knowledge, Suttamaya Jnana, reflection on this is called Chintamaya Jnana, reflective knowledge. And people who have fulfilled a lot of paramis, and people such as the Buddha have this. Mostly ordinary people do not have much ability in this regard. And the third type is Bhavana Jnana. This is knowledge born of practice. So, when first of all, we develop a clean mind, and we make this clean mind bigger and better and stronger. And knowledge arises. So this knowledge that arises due to mental development is called Bhavana Jnana. This is true direct knowledge. What we learn from books is not true knowledge. It's just a shadow of what is really there. When we think about something, or when we examine something with instruments, this too is not true knowledge. This is just second-hand knowledge. It's not direct. And when one does this type of thing, examining things with instruments, usually it is not with the objective of gaining freedom from suffering. It's usually with the objective just to use this knowledge in the world. The yogis who have come here to the 60-day retreat have left behind their families in order to come here and do this practice. And Sayadaw feels sure that the yogis have the desire to know the truth. This is why they've come here. So, knowing the truth directly, let's say we clench our fist, and when we just do this in an ordinary way, clenching the fist, what may appear in our mind is the shape of the fist. But as long as our mind, whatever our mind perceives, as long as it is with that, as long as it's not going somewhere else, whether it's the shape of the hand, the way it's closed into a fist, as long as the mind is staying with it, the mind is clean. These are valid things to know. But as our attention stays again and again with the fist, we come to know the qualities within, like tension or tightness, warmth, whatever it may be. And this is one's own direct knowledge. So this is knowledge, true knowledge. What one learns from books is not direct. And Westerners tend to think that books contain true knowledge, but it's not so. What is true is the mental and physical phenomena that are occurring within oneself. The knowledge of this mental and physical phenomena is knowing the truth, knowing how these are related as cause and effect, knowing how these things related as cause and effect arise and pass away. To know this true knowledge, we are keeping sila, and we are working to collect our mind. And we will come to know, through doing this, we will definitely come to know what is true. This is certain. So while we are in search of this true knowledge, we need to be frank, open about our faults with the teacher. So the reporting to the teacher is not so that the teacher can play teacher. It is so that we can have the chance to discuss with the teacher what our experience is. And this is called Sakacca Nugahita. Our support needs this practice. Our practice needs this support of discussion with the teacher, so that the teacher can help us to correct the problems, to fill in what needs to be filled in. So every day one is meeting with teachers, and this is valuable time, and Sayadaw does not want the time to be wasted. So that one has to be quite clear about how many times a day does one sit, how many times does one walk, how long does one sit for, how long does one walk for. Can one note the objects, starting with the rising and the falling, with applying effort and aiming? Or can't one? So when one is specific in this way about just what one is doing, then one will have the qualities of being asato and amayawi. One won't pretend about what one doesn't have, and one won't be hiding one's faults. And in that way, one will be saying, one will be presenting oneself just the way one is, yatabhutang atanang awikata. So those who are honest are able to do this easily. One can't just say. One has to actually show one's work. When one reports, one has to show how one practices. Only then will the teachers be able to help. So it's said that those who are honest, the honest always have enough to eat. Because the meaning of this is that when the yogis are honest with the teachers love the yogis, because then they're able to help. So when the yogis just say what they think happened, or they draw conclusions without showing their work, then the teachers can't do anything to help the yogi, because the yogi is not saying what really happened. They're saying the conclusions that they drew from what happened. So the teachers on their side are ready to help the yogis in every way. And on our side, we need to be honest and upright. We need to have this quality. And this quality is the third factor for gaining special Dhamma in this very life. So there's a saying that said, the honest always have enough, the crooked never do. So when people are honest, they will get good things in return. And when people are not open and clear, not honest, then they won't get enough. All over the world, people need to be honest. So whatever one's religion is, honesty is valued. Even those without religion value honesty. If everyone would avoid being deceitful, how peaceful the world would be. So honesty is a fundamental quality that everyone should have, regardless of their religion or belief. But nowadays in the world, the number of dishonest, deceitful people is greater. And there are few people who are really honest. Therefore, the world is seething with problems. So it's important for one to try to be honest and upright. One will be trusted by others when one is honest. And when one is honest, one will possess the third factor of one who can gain special Dhamma in this very life. So, looking back at the qualities of one who is able to gain the special Dhamma in this very life, the first quality is faith in those things worthy of our faith. And if we have this, this is a good start. And this faith in things worthy of our faith is essential. This is not optional. This is essential to have. The second quality is health. Okay, health is sometimes up, sometimes down. So this is somewhat variable. One does not have to have perfect health. Honesty is the third quality. And this too is essential. There's no 50% on this one. You have to have 100%. And if one has these three qualities, then there are only two more to go. So having these three qualities is something to be quite happy about. So Sayadaw said that to make it worthwhile having come here, having separated from the things you normally do, from your family and so on, please make a strong effort to be honest in your practice. And that's all for today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.